Hi everybody, welcome to Beyond the Lines. My name is Sarah, I'm the artist by Pinselgeschichten, and today I'm gonna work in the Outlander coloring book, and I'm gonna work on this particular page here. I'm gonna have it start to finish, and I'm working only with acrylics on a coloring page. And I'm gonna show you how to mix your own colors. I'm only gonna use a handful of colors, and I'm gonna show you how I mix tones and what I like to do, how I like to work with mixing my own colors for whatever I want to convey. In this case, old car, 40s, and we're in Scotland. I hope you enjoy watching along, and I hope you maybe get inspired. I'm gonna see you next time. So there we go. Let's be brave, right? This is the page that I'm gonna work in today. It's from the Outlander coloring book, like I said in the intro, but I have to read the passage to you first, like I do whenever I'm coloring in this book. So it says, for this particular picture that I have taped down, it says, "Once traveling at night, I fell asleep in the passenger seat of a moving car, lulled by the noise and motion into an illusion of serene weightlessness. The driver of the car took a bridge too fast and lost control, and I woke from my floating dream straight into the glare of headlights and the sickening sensation of falling at high speed. That abrupt transition is as close as I can come to describing the feeling I experienced, but it falls woefully short." She, of course, that is Claire's voice, she's talking about her travel through the stones. But today we actually have this car here. I think it is Frank's car. That is a burgundy red in my mind, and also in the showmaker's mind of stars. So what I want to do today is work with acrylics, and yes, that might be a bit daring, and that might not be the first idea you have when it comes to color books, but the thing that I want to show you today is how to mix colors. And I thought acrylics would be best for that, because with this medium I'm having very few colors only that I use. So I will go into that in a minute. So what I did here, I took painter's tape and I taped down that page. Yes, I will not be able to color that border up, but I'm gonna add a frame. So I'm just gonna add a black frame, and that's that. It's actually fine to be a bit narrower, at least in my book. I'm having a couple of brushes here, very thin ones, small ones, because this is a very delicate page when it comes to the line work. And I'm going to have this very big palette here. I like to have these kinds of palettes when I mix my own colors, and you can see there's some wet color because before I started recording this video, I actually recorded an art day video where I used acrylics, and that got me inspired for what I want to show you today on this particular show. So I said I'm only having a few colors. For example, I have some tubes here. There's a warm red, and there's a cold one. There's a turquoise and a Prussian blue. There's a burnt sienna, which is a warm green. This is an odd color. This is a zinc white, which is a transparent white, which I only use for fog or mist, very thin mist. And then I do have some bottles of paint. I do have a warm yellow and a light ochre. And then I'm having a mixing white and a titanium white, and I'm gonna tell you the difference later. I'm having one black, a lamp black. I'm having a cold blue, so warm blue, cold blue. This is an odd one out as well, the turquoise, but it actually really helps. Then I have a cold brown, warm brown, cold brown, which is Van Dyke brown. It's my favorite brown. But there's actually other colors as well I need to refill. This is where I keep an old whiskey box. Is a perfect box to keep tubes, because I buy them kind of in bulk, and then I have one open and the other is closed. So this is lemon yellow, a cold yellow. And then I need, that's Van Dyke, that's also Van Dyke, also Van Dyke. I think all the other colors I do have present. Yes, I do. So I can put this away. I'm having also a bottle. I'm having a bottle of burnt umber that is also a cold brown, but it's a little bit lighter than the Van Dyke, as you can see here. I hope you can see it's lighter, and I do like the Van Dyke better, but I'm going to use this up in other artwork as well, of course, because I don't waste paint or supplies. So I think you saw a theme here. Of every color I have a warm and a cold. Cold, warm. Warm, cold. It doesn't matter if I have those bottles or if I have tubes. Warm and cold, warm and cold. The odd ones out are the yellow ochre and the turquoise. They're just very nice for mixing greens, and this is a very nice earthy tone that can be used for skin tones or for sand, any warm sunlight, southern or western desert kind of a painting. And this one just really helps with the green and also with the Caribbean paintings. It's just a nice tone to mix in. And then I have a black and two whites. Now, why do I have two whites? Because white acrylic paint, so the titanium white, is, if you mix it with other colors, it makes other colors kind of dull and almost quote-unquote milky. And this one here, if you mix it with buff titanium white or mixing white, whatever you want to call it, it just gets a lighter shade of that color and not this dull. It's still going to be vibrant and very, very colorful. So how do I set up my palette? First, I want to decide which colors I want to use, and I think I want to use a very light green for the grass, a mid green for the tree, also mid green here but with a bit of brown. So I need the warm red. I'm debating, do I need the cold red? Probably not. So instead of going, normally when I paint, I have like a color wheel. I have the yellows here, the reds here, sorry, the blues, where's the blues? Whatever blues I need. I rarely use the ultramarine, but sometimes I gotta need it. And then the browns go like this. So I have a dot of everything around my palette. I'm not going to do that today because it's ultra warm, if not to say hot, in my studio. So the acrylics will dry really fast on my palette if I don't use it. So I'm going color by color by color, and I'm mixing them for whatever I need. And I think another tip I could give you that I like to do with any kind of painting and any kind of coloring, I start with the background. Because colors in the foreground are way more brighter and just bam there, and so contrasty, and in the background everything gets kind of like blurry and less bright. So it's always easier to hype up the contrast and the brightness instead of dulling it down for the background. So I start with the background, and in this case I want to show you how I like to use my dark browns. So I'm going to use two tones, Sienna Burnt or Burnt Sienna and Van Dyke Brown. And am I having a grayish tree or a brownish tree? I'm going to have a grayish tree. So instead of the burnt sienna, I'm going to use a Prussian blue, which is a warm blue. Now here's a nice thing that works particularly well with watercolors, but also with acrylics, of course, and any other medium where you can mix something. A cold brown and a warm blue make a gray. Same goes for a cold blue and a warm brown. They also make a gray. The question is, how much of each of the colors are you gonna put in, and that determines are you gonna have a warm gray or a cold gray. So the more cold tones you have, especially when you want a really cold gray, I suggest you go with ultramarine blue and burnt sienna and have this color be a bit more in the mix than the warm color, because that will really give it a cold tint. If you want a warm tint, well, just go the other way around. Now I'm having a tiny brush here. I like the angle brush for these little details. Can you see? Yes, you can. So I need a paper towel from my other project before, dampening my brush, and I'm just going to mix the two, the brown and the blue. I know that looks like black, but it's actually a gray. Now I'm going to clean my brush again, and I'm going to pick up a bit of that gray, start coloring or painting in. See, it's a gray tone. And I really like that for the parts here that do have like these shading lines, like here and here. Now I don't want to necessarily stay in the lines with this particular piece here. It would be, for one, it would be really, well, maybe kind of difficult to do that with these tiny lines. Also, I think I could actually just play with the painting style, and that will make this painting interesting in the end too. It's not just coloring, it's actually maybe a bit more, so I can go outside the lines a bit. Now for the rest of the tree, I'm going to clean my brush and just use the Van Dyke brown. Because that is where you see a bit of the lighter parts of that tree trunk. So Van Dyke, such a nice cold brown tone, and I really like to use it for trees. And on this paper, the acrylic paint, especially like I said with the warm weather that I currently experience here in my studio, the Van Dyke dries almost too fast on me here, so I have to be fast. But that means that I can layer faster if I want something to be layered. I don't care if I go over the leaves, I'm just gonna paint them on top. So by having this paper taped down, it will only buckle so much. Alright. Bit of Prussian blue here, and so here. All right, there we go. That's a tree trunk. Now I'm gonna check if there's any other part that I want a dark gray. And actually I want the dark grayish brown underneath the car, so I'm going to mix some more. Get the water out of my brush. And then I'm just gonna paint especially the very dark part here. Just gonna, and I'm leaving some strokes really showing. That adds to the texture for me, which I think in this page or this painting couldn't hurt, and I don't mind having a bit of texture in my paintings. Also, this particular page here has some line work that I'm not really too fond of, and that is the grass underneath the car here. So by using acrylics, I can cover that up as much as I like. Because if I don't use any water in thinning this paint down, this is actually solidly opaque covering. I could have a wash, like an acrylic wash, which would mean that I would water down the acrylic paint to the point that I could see through it, which I had done at the page for the crest of the Randall family. Excuse me. All right. Okay, clean out my brush. I also want the Van Dyke in the car seat here, but I need a smaller brush for that. And that is one of these very thin ones here. This is a 0 brush, number 0. It's quite the small one, but I can do something like this. By the way, I said earlier it's really hot in my studio. I hope you don't hear the fan. I hope I can edit it out when it comes to the audio footage for this video. If I'm unable, I'm very sorry, but I have to have a fan running. It is way too hot to actually work. So with this very thin brush here, I can work on the parts where I definitely want to keep the patterns, or where I think it would just be beneficial to stay as close to the lines as possible, and that is in particular these tiny details here of the car and also the interior, like I'm just painting here. I'm also going to paint the back part here of the car. But this is a way thinner. I have too much water, maybe. Yeah. That on the left is actually what I would say is a wash or a thinned down acrylic paint way of coloring, which actually is really nice if you have a big surface that you want to color in or paint in one go, but have kind of transparent or semi-transparent, and you don't have watercolors, or you don't want to use watercolors. All right, so there's the car thing. Now I'm going to work on the tree. I will use the blue and the green later, but for now I'm going to use the warm cat yellow. There's the opening, there it is. And I'm also going to use, come on, cat yellow, work with me. There we go. Cat yellow, and I'm going to use the turquoise. To memorize what colors I used so I can write that down later on. Alright, put it here. So the turquoise and the lemon yellow, they are going to make lemon yellow, a cat yellow, they're gonna make green. So what I'm gonna do, I'm having a bristle brush here, this hog hair or something, and I'm going to mix the two, more yellow than green, than turquoise, and that makes for a nice green. And the more yellow I have, the more lemony or almost spring tone like it gets, so even more yellow for the grass. I'm going to use the darker one for the tree later, but that is a nice tone here that I'm going to put aside and pick up with a smaller brush to have these grass blades here colored. And I'm not planning to color the sky, so I just should make sure that I have those grass blades kind of showing. I don't have to use the exact lines again, like I said earlier. Have to go with the general form of the grass blades. Now I don't mind if I go over parts of the car here. I still can paint over that. Acrylics are a medium that can be layered as much as you want, or as much as your paper or canvas holds. Just going to add that here. I'm gonna have a second layer in a minute. No, maybe a bit too much on my brush. Just to make sure that I cannot see the lines per se that are still visible here. Those grass blades, all the lines are still visible, and that is why or that is because the cat yellow light, cat yellow hue is a transparent color. So there's some acrylic paints that you have to paint in multiple layers because they're semi-transparent or really transparent. So especially reds, purples, some blues, yellows, even some greens, like a lime green is sometimes a bit, well, not 100% opaque on the first go. So you just have to paint a second layer, which is totally fine, I think. And the mixing things I tell you here in this video today are not only for acrylics. So the same goes for gouache, or if you paint with watercolors or inks or any mixable medium, it's all the same. They all work the same when it comes to how do I determine what color I need to mix with what to get a certain result. Okay. So I'm going in for the same green for now for the lower parts here. Again, I'm going to come in with a second layer because you can see the line work. Some more. And closest to the viewer is this part here, so some more of the light green. All right, now second layer. Oh, that's a bit much. Gosh, a bit more here. Just going on top. Some of them I'm adding a bit more yellow, some of them going with pre-mixed things that are the same tone that I had before. I'm pretty much just adding a solid layer of paint here. Then I'm going to let the grass section dry and come back in once I've painted the tree, because I lost pretty much all of the detail now with you cannot really see single grass blades, which I think is totally fine, but maybe you want to see some. So I'm going to add a bit of detail later with a darker green. For now, I'm just gonna let that dry. Get a second layer here on the other light green parts. And then I'm going to paint the tree, the leaves, with a darker green. It's the same mixture that I use here for the grass. It's just a bit less yellow and more turquoise. Alright, so see, I got the lighter part from here. Now I'm taking this darker part, adding a bit more turquoise to the mixture. That's a nice dark green. And I'm going to give the tree my kind of texture. So not necessarily the texture that comes with the line work, but my kind of texture. I'm going to have a layer of dark green first. And then I'm going to add a bit of the light green. Okay, I'm quickly gonna give this a little blast of with my blow dryer. And now I'm gonna mix some more of that light green. So a lot of dark green, and then adding quite the yellow for a lighter tone. It's more like it. So going to pick that up. And add some texture here and there. I'm even gonna add some pure yellow light. See? Mix it pretty much on the paper. Now I'm going in with more turquoise to the color that I had already mixed, so that I'm getting a darker green again. And I'm also gonna add what I have left of my Prussian blue. That's making it even darker. And then I'm going to take a special brush, this one here. Don't know if you can see it, but I have a bigger brush like that. That is the same way, but you could probably see it better. So let me get the bigger one to show you. I'm going to use the tiny one, but this one here, you can see it has, some of the bristles are really long and some stop like here, and that is really nice for making grass. So what I'm gonna do is dampen my brush, and then I'm going to dip the long bristles into the dark color. I'm going to add a bit of
that dark color here, where I lost some of the details. Another way, if you don't have a brush like that, what I could recommend you do is take an old stiff brush, something that is pretty much ready to go to the bin, but you just don't want to part with it yet, because the old bristle, like hog hair bristles, not the synthetic bristles, but like with the real hair, the old brushes, they make for really nice texture, and they're awesome for grass and stuff. And there's another way that I'm going to show you down at this section of the grass, what you also could do to get some grassy texture going. All right, now I need to have a bit more of the Prussian blue because I already used it up. That little bit that I had on my palette. And now I'm going to bring the Prussian blue into the dark green that I had already mixed. Okay, I'm gonna take a bit more of the turquoise, a bit more of the light green to make a bit more of the dark green. Okay, and then I'm going to add a smidge of Van Dyke brown to a little of that color, not all of it. And I'm going in here and coloring that part underneath the car. A very thin layer. So adding a bit of shading here, because the car is definitely gonna cast a shadow on the grass. Okay. All right, now I need another brush. Hold on. Gotta grab it from the desk next to me. And that is a fan brush. I have a big one and a small one here, and what you do is you only dip the top of it. So you take another brush to mix things. And I want a little bit of a darker green mixed now. So I'm taking a bit of the yellow with a brush in blue. Bit of the turquoise. and a smidge of the Van Dyke added, just a bit. A really, really dark green. I can put that brush into the water, and you really go like 90 degrees down angle. You just dip the front of the brush into the paint, and then you do something like this. See? That's the underpainting of grass. Then I have to let this dry completely. And then I'm going to go in with a smaller brush, a bit of the light ochre added, and then I do have a bit of yellow going on. But first I just saw something. Could actually add a bit of light green too, namely here. Have a bit of a different line, and if you pop it like this, you get even more of a thicker way the grass looks. But I would quickly want to dry this off. You might ask, why am I drying this off? Because I don't want this layer here to mix with the next one that I'm going to paint. So I'm using the yellow ochre, just a little bit. You can see it's hardly anything. I'm going to use that to dab my brush in. I'm going to add some of the longer and more yellow leaves or grass blades. By holding the brush this direction, I can have a bit of a longer grass blade going on. By doing it like this, you get the shorter one. And if you change things up a bit, so here I want just the tops, for example, maybe a bit of a longer blade. If you change things up a bit between the grass blades, you should have things to be natural. Now I'm going in with the same brush into the Van Dyke. I'm just going on the lower part here. Do not have everything look too one or two dimensional. I want 3 dimensions. Alright, enough of that. Now I can go to the car. Okay. We get a clean part. I want a thin brush first, because in between the leather bits here I want the same yellow ochre that I used for the grass blades, so I can just take pure yellow ochre and paint. And same goes here. This part. and also this part of the car. Okay, do I need anything else with that color? I don't think so. So I'm going to let this brush dry, and I'm going to take a little bit more of the Prussian blue. I put it next to my Van Dyke brown, and I'm going to add a smidge of lamp black. So you can see here I do have those tiny dollops. Paint that I'm not going to use, I'm going to use on a canvas or a desk journal. So I'm not going to waste it. It's just going to be part of an abstract painting then. So this one. Yeah. Gotta clean up my brushes. Taking my angle brush again. And I, for one, want to add a smidge of shadow. So I'm going to have the Van Dyke and a bit of black. I'm going to mix them and add a bit of darkness here in particular. So I think that would just add to the feeling of depth. Same goes down here. Just a bit. All right. What I want to do though is I want to mix a gray, and I want to paint the tires. So I'm taking Van Dyke and Prussian blue. Bit more because I have 4 wheels. And I'm gonna add a smidge of black. Maybe a bit more blue. Clean out my brush, really dry it off on my paper towel. And then I can paint. So I don't want to go solid black right away because I need some space to actually shade. So I get my tiny brush out as well, because now with the car we're getting to the things where it's a bit tricky maybe to go with the angle brushes. So I'm going for the tiny round brush that I can control really well and kind of keep the shapes that were printed on the paper. There we go. wheel number 1. Oh, go a bit further even. So this is also wheel number 1 up here. Let's go to wheel number 2. Tire number 2, not wheel. This car here now might take a little longer, but I think I'm still gonna be faster or as fast as I would be, say, with color pencils or a similar medium, like maybe, I don't know, Inktense and then have colored pencils on top or something. Still would need the same amount of time, I guess, but for the background I'm definitely able to work rather fast with the acrylics, since I'm not going to pay attention that much, you know. I'm pretty fine with making up my own parts of the artwork that I'm working at, so if somebody else gives me line work, I can add something to it, or I can leave things out, and I feel totally comfortable with that. Other people don't, and that's fine too, but I might be able to speed things up a bit if I don't have like 14 hours to work on one thing. I could actually save some time there by being rather, let's say, expressionistic with the way I handle my brushes there, like the dabbing in the background on the tree and stuff. Okay. Okay, tire number 2, now tire number 3. By painting from the back to the front, I can also clean up things where I went over the lines, or where I went maybe a bit berserk with the bigger brushes in the background. I can just clean up lines here, totally fine. That's another thing that I find very beneficial of the concept of painting or drawing, coloring from the background to the foreground. I find it way less stressful. And also, usually I do have very subtle colors and a lot of color repetition in the background, and if I want to have some color to stand out or be like a really big contrast to something, I put it into my focal point. I don't put it into the background per se. So, or more often than not, I'm putting it in the foreground or on the focal point. So that means that for the background painting time, I can really work with the harmonic and subtle colors, the very well uniform or nicely blended colors, and then I can have a pew, like a bam, in the foreground, and bam is going to be the red, which is the contrasting color to all the greens. So far I'm very harmonic with my colors here. I'm having all the greens and browns. Browns are very laid back, and the greens are all mixed from the same three colors, so they all blend together nicely as well. But now I'm going in with red and gray. So for a metallic, it will be a very cold gray that I have to mix in a very light one. And then I will have to have the red as well. Now, I think it will be easier for me to go in with the red first and then add the gray, so all the silver and stuff. So I'm going to bring in the cad red, and I'm going to bring in the sienna, burnt sienna, and then I can shade with the Van Dyke. So the burnt sienna is also a very red tone. Might have to add a little bit of blue. Oh well, for now I'm just gonna get mixing here. So I'm going to mix the brown and the red. I think, yeah, that's actually not too bad. And I could bring in a bit maybe a bit of blue, just a little bit of the Prussian blue, just a bit. I don't want it purple, but I want a little bit of blue in there too. Haha, that rhymes. I want a bit of blue in there too. Yeah, that's more like it. I like that. Okay. So I'm going to start coloring the red parts of the car now, or the burgundy parts, which is a very dark red, almost to the brown. So that is why I mixed the sienna, the burnt sienna, with the red, and I think I need a bit more red. Also need the very small brush, because some things I just can't paint with the angle brush. At least I can't paint it as neatly as I want to. So here now I'm going to cover a whole line that is pretty prominent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Van Dyke and mix it right in. And that will help me with shading, or remembering where I need to maybe put a darker color later. Actually, I need a bit more Van Dyke. Need more of the red. So clean things up and mix them nicely on the paper. So more red. just pure red, not mixed with the brown. I have some notion that this is a red car. And a bit more Van Dyke to go here. Nope, too much water. So, wanted Van Dyke. I'm using the Van Dyke brown to set things apart. Like for example here, this part, this door part is behind this round wheel thing of the car. So I am going to have Van Dyke there, and then I can blend it in with the red and sienna brown mixture that I have. And now I need another brush. This is getting too big. This one could help. So I'm already an hour at this video, and I'm trying to too much water. I'm trying not to have it run too long, but on the other hand, I definitely want to try and see if I can have this all done in one sitting. So if I go over 2 hours, I will have to cut this. But until then, I keep going, and I hope that is okay with you. So now a bit more of the Van Dyke. clean that off and go for more of the red, less of the burnt sienna. For this top part here where there might be a little bit of sun. Going around here. Let's put some more red here. Because I actually now need a bit of a darker brown, so the Van Dyke is to come in. Up here. And also here. This is gonna be more of the dark blues. Okay, so I can go with more of the lighter red tones. For the darker parts here, I bring in a bit of the red-brown mixture with the Prussian blue. Bit more of the Van Dyke. Put that here and here. Okay, and then I need one more line without touching the wet brush, something like here. And I'm gonna come in between with the red brown, the red sienna mixture. Some more. The light will be up here pretty much. So let's have that a bit redder. That's a bit more light up there. And then we go to the darker spots. So there will also be a bit of the Prussian blue. More of the Prussian. And a smidge of black for that particular part here. That is very dark. And I need a bit more of the mixture that is more red than brown. Clean this one up here. Also this one. Okay, the rest is gonna be metal, metal, metal. Now I can go to this part here. It's probably gonna be a bit more on the brown side of the spectrum. And I have a little bit too much on my brush. There we go. The rest is gonna be darker because it lives in the shadow. So I need Van Dyke. This section here in particular. I'm also gonna need a bit of the Prussian blue and brown mixture. This is definitely a spot that is in shadow, assuming that the light comes from the right hand side, as is indicated from on the lines that I'm not using here. But the car has reflections that indicate that the light comes from the right. Alright, I think that's all the red parts, I guess, but I'm going to mix Van Dyke and Prussian for a dark gray to paint the inner parts here. I'm going to also add a little bit of the brown red mixture. And a smidge of black. Okay. Now I really need a dark color, pretty much a black, a gray black. So I'm going to take the flat brush again because I need to paint here. So I'm going to take black and Prussian blue in a mixture. It will at least give the black tone a bluish tint. Gonna have to add a little bit of water to it. Problem with hot weather, it's almost wanting to dry out my acrylics. Okay. Okay, and now I do the same with this part here. Anything that is underneath the car. And that would be a dark gray, otherwise is going to be the bluish black here. By mixing black and blue together, you can still see the tint and say, okay, this is not flat black, but it has a blue tint to it. And that makes it less dull. And a bit of a black line underneath here too. And I think the rest is all going to be light grays or whites. So what I'm going to do now, turn my palette, and I'm gonna mix I'm gonna mix the ultramarine blue, which is a cold blue. We need very little of that, with a smudge of the Van Dyke. So both cold brown, cold blue. Ooh, my paint bottle is farting. So I can actually clean that up here. And then I'm going to add mixing white. So now I'm gonna need a brush to mix, so I'm going to take this one. And first I'm going to mix the dark grays, so I want 1 part blue, 1 part brown. Just mix, mix, mix. Maybe a bit more blue. Yeah, dark gray. There we go. Now I can add mixing white, and it's gonna be light gray. See? Can you see? Yeah. By adding a bit more of a blue tint, it will look metallic. So I need the thin brush, and I'm going to start painting the light parts. Actually, let's do the dark parts with that tone. Pretty much the same thing. I'm going to use even a lighter tone of that gray for the light grays. This is a dark gray. And all of this is also dark gray. Let's add a little bit of black to get those lines back. And now I can add some more white, and that will make for a lighter gray. So I'm going in with another portion of, yeah, that's more like it, for light gray. I like that. So I'm also going to add the black lines here in a minute. First I want the color value be exactly right. There we go. Now for the light, this is going to be tricky, but the window and everything have to be light gray as well. So this needs a bit of the darker gray, because it has to be distinguishable from the front part. Add that here. And then going back to the lighter gray. Okay, even more light gray. Just these parts here, The rest is gonna be dark. And this here is gonna be light. Light, light, light. This is going to be light. Rest is going to be dark, so this is going to be light gray. Rest is going to be dark. Same goes here. This is light. Rest is dark. Up here, this is light, rest is dark. So pretty much any piece here is having light and dark things going on. So I need a bit more white. So here, the upper part of the bumper is light, of course, because the light hits, so there will be reflection. Oops. Just gonna paint this in solid pretty much. And the rest is gonna be dark. I might go a little bit over. I've got like 26 minutes on the clock, but I'm almost, excuse me, I'm almost done. So I'm not going to start a second part for this page. But I'm going to mix some more dark gray. So a little bit more Van Dyke. Okay, I can pick that up now. This is all not the darks, but hold on, I can have a bit of a dark here, can add things a bit. Let's go right to left, because otherwise I might smudge something. So I'm changing to the smaller brush. I'm adding the dark gray here to that mirror. And well, why not? I could actually also add it for these sunscreens. Okay, I need a bit of dark gray here, the outside. This lamp. I'm going to paint the inner parts of the lamp probably last, and before that I will, or maybe second to last, because I also have to paint the sign here, but it's all dark gray. Needs a bit of black. One here, also in here. One's down here. I think there's some dark gray here, and I have a hair on my brush that I don't need. That's bad. So there's a little bit more for blue. Something like this. Need more of the blue. It's not going to be as dark, but still dark. So I'm adding only a smidge of white, and I can paint this part in. Some more of a lighter gray to blend the two parts here together. Can move to the smaller brush again, because that will make it way easier to get in those tiny little details. But you see, you don't need every color in the book when you work with supplies that you could mix. Like I said, acrylics is not the only supply I'm talking about here. It could also work with gouache, watercolor inks and stuff. So ooh, too much water on my brush. So you might reconsider if you want to learn mixing. Just, well, be patient with it and try new things. Can definitely all work perfectly fine. And I think it actually also helps with having paintings look very harmonic and nice when you mix your own colors, because it's very likely that you have color repetition. Then you're using the same colors over and over again to mix other shades of something. and that will make your painting look very harmonic. Even though there's, say, a blue, a purple, and a red, and they all register as different colors in our brains, our eyes can see that the purple was made from that same red and blue. Okay. Also, it can register if it wasn't mixed with those colors. So just a few details, not too much. I'm going a bit to the left to this lamp here. Paint that in. And also this turning light here. Going to add the dark gray here. And now dark gray on the bumper. Almost done, yay! But only almost, me too. Need to be a bit careful because I don't want to lose the light gray, but also I want both sections of the bumper to kind of blend. So I'm going in with a lighter gray in a second here and paint the upper part of the bumper again. So I'm just adding a load of mixing whites. Ooh, it's a little too less blue. So let's add some blue. Okay. Need a bit of the white to also have a highlight here, kind of. Just have at least a little bit of detail. So for the lamps, I want to mix ultramarine with mixing white. And have the rest done with purely white. Have the two mixed together. Something like this. And again on the other side. And pure white. Ooh, a little too less. Some more. Okay, whew, few little details. I want the same going for the very light blue but even lighter. So lots of mixing white, tiny little blue. Want that here on the plate. It's kind of like a shadow color. And then I go in with purely mixing white and bring the two together. And then I will use some more lamp black to add some tiny little details, and then my piece should be done. I hope you got something interesting in terms of how to mix lovely colors with just very, very few tones. You don't need to have 15 bottles of green, just need a blue, or 2 or 3 blues and 2 yellows, and you can pretty much mix anything you like. There we go. Now, where's the black? I need a fresh black. The one on my palette already dried, but I don't want to squeeze anything out. So what I do is I put some into the cap, and there I can take it right from here, and I'm not gonna waste any more of the paints. So I need to have the window swipers painted in. And some shadow line here, and the other window swiper is here. Also need to fill in the steering wheel. And okay, here it was. I wanted to add the lines of the chrome pieces here. At least some of them, not all of the lines. And then I need a little bit of an outline here, purely black. I think then we're actually good. I will have to paint the frame, of course, but that shouldn't be too bad, too problematic. Okay, so let's close this for a minute. I have to dry this off, and then I can peel the paper around it and paint the frame, and that will pretty much finish this piece here. Okay. I think I will add a black line here, but first let me get rid of the tape. I'm pulling it at a very flat angle, which way will make it the least probable to tear my my paper. least probable, but not impossible. It tore a bit here. And that's okay, I think. Okay, let's dry this off even more. And then I will tape this down once more, but to be able to paint the other lines. Now I have to do that in 2 steps. Number 1. This one and this one can go at the same time. Okay. Quickly, I will paint the borders. Actually, I could use this brush. No, I don't want that. Let's use this brush. It's big enough, it's quick. Other side too. Okay. Dry this off and do it with the other 2 sides. Carefully gonna, said carefully, going to peel away this tape and also the one here. Okay, and then I can do the same thing for the other 2 sides. Solid black paint. And so on the other side. Okay. I'm going to add one thing while this dries, and then I can stop painting. Okay. That's it. So I can put the paint away, dry this off, and then can call it a painting. Okay, let's finish this off by tearing the tape very carefully. In a flat angle. And that concludes my painting today. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you maybe learned something about mixing colors, how you really don't need very many colors to pretty much have every color in the book present. I haven't named the video yet as I finished this video, but it's gonna have a name, and the exact numbers of the acrylics that I used will be on the blog, as well as close-up photos. I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to see you next week. Next week I'm going to talk about a new color that I'm going to focus on. I haven't decided yet which color I want to go with, so I'm not gonna say anything about that now. But I hope you enjoyed watching along. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. As usual, fill the comment section with wonderful words, and I'm going to see you on the next video. Take good care. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.